So Christmas is almost here. I'm sure you've gotten your order into KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, to have your Christmas dinner ready, right? You haven't? You haven't ordered any dinner from KFC for Christmas. You haven't? You gotta do it right now. Christmas is almost here. Hi there, my name is Steve Gerhardt, and this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching the video this week. In case you could not tell from the hat, it is that time of year. Yes, it is Christmas time. So many people love this holiday. So much so that it goes to different countries like Japan. So I just kind of wanted to throw a video out there for this week, the week before Christmas, and kind of talk about like how the Japanese kind of celebrate Christmas in certain similar ways and certain different ways. So so why don't we just go ahead and get right into it. Alright, before I start the video, just to let you know, for some reason there's a lot of sirens out there, and I've got kiddos in the apartment next door, so you might hear some ambient noise. If so, sorry. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it. Hopefully it won't distract you too much from the video, which is about Christmas, and particularly Christmas in Japan. So I'm going to talk about how I think, in a speculative manner, how it came about, how the Japanese celebrate Christmas as we know it today in their country. Where did this come from? Nothing comes from a vacuum. And so why Christmas? Why do they celebrate? Now, we all know that the Japanese and other Asian countries like to adapt other cultures. They see fun things or interesting things or useful things, most importantly, that they can adapt into their own cultures. And there's usually reasons behind it. Christmas is no exception. And in Japan, I always kind of wondered about how did it actually get there? How did it really get entrenched and become part of the Japanese tradition, because it is for them fairly new. This isn't something that's been around for them for a long time like it has been for us. So and also the other point to this is that for the Japanese, Christmas is not a Christian holiday. They still work on Christmas Day. We don't. For the most part anyway. And so obviously there's certain elements of Christmas that don't exist for the Japanese for good reason. And no bad reasons. So anyway, I was kind of thinking about it, kind of looking at the history of it a little bit, and so I'm going to talk from just my own thought process, my own kind of logic path. So I am probably going to get a few things wrong. So if I do, my apologies. Don't beat me too bad up. Don't beat me up too badly in the comments if I do. Anyway, so the concept of Christmas was not new to the Japanese prior to World War II. They were aware of it from what I can see, which is, basically once Commodore Perry opened Japan up to the Western world, and the Japanese government said, okay, we got to do this, and ideas start to flow. Christmas was one of many, many millions of ideas that came in and out of Japan. And so they would have seen in the 1880s and 1890s the Western, particularly the American version of Christmas, what Christmas looks like. Just to give you an idea, just a short history of the American Christmas experience. It actually comes from the King Edward reign of Britain, where his family actually borrowed the idea of the Christmas tree from Germany, right? And they put up a little Christmas tree, a little pine tree, and they put baubles on it, like jewelry and things like that, to make something look nice. Harper's Ferry, which at the time was kind of like the Vogue magazine in America, got wind of this, showed it, put a picture up in it, and it just took off. And so the way that we know the Christmas tree, hanging ornaments and tinsel and things like that, comes from the Edwardian regime of Britain, who also took it from the Germanic centuries-held traditions of putting candles on the fir trees and doing a dance around it and having a good merry old time. So they would have seen that. So in the 1880s, 1890s, the Japanese probably would have come across a limited experience with that. Maybe they were dealing with a trader or a merchant or somebody in the United States government who mentioned Christmas and maybe explained it. So it probably started there, and it was just kind of a slow growth from that. And there's not that many Christians in Japan to begin with, so the idea of Christmas that we know it today, the jovial holiday, really wasn't there until post-war Japan. So after the war, obviously Japan's ruined. It's the economy is tatters, the country, the infrastructure done, right? Everything is a mess. And so they're on that slow path to recovery, and while they're doing that, they are also being occupied by United States forces, right? Well, servicemen are going to be there during Christmas. And so these ideas of what we know as Christmas today, here's the Christmas tree, presents, you go out, you have a celebration, you have a big feast, you sing songs, you carol, blah, 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 blah. All those kinds of things the Japanese start to see with the servicemen. And of course it's low key, it's not like the servicemen went out there and said, oh, we're going to find the biggest pine tree in Japan and here we go. That's not how it worked. But the idea of gift giving, the idea of having a feast, the idea of putting ornaments on something to celebrate this day. And so they're starting to look at this, and as post-war Japan, United States occupation is going on, they're realizing, hey, as their economy is getting better with construction projects and things like that, they're like, hey, we can actually make money by selling some of our goods to the American servicemen to send back home as presents for, their kids or family or friends, back in the United States. So here's a way to make money. And so they kind of got into the commercial aspect of it. And as they did that, they brought them closer to the idea of Christmas, I think. And basically, I'm willing to bet that at some point, most of the Japanese merchants probably kind of took one look at Christmas and said, this seems like a festival, doesn't it? I mean, there's a lot of boxes that are checked off for me in terms of when I think of a festival and Christmas. So let's explore that idea a little bit. So festivals, Japanese festivals, exist to celebrate various things. Usually it involves a shrine, it involves a day, and usually involves some type of spiritual event or being, a kami. And around this celebration of these things, particularly in Shinto, you're going to have a festival. So you have kind of like the serious, spiritual place that is filled with, the shrine and things like that, and the things that you have to do for the shrine. You come up and you do the thing. And those are important rituals and traditions for them to complete that important place in their souls, in their spirit. They're probably looking at Christmas and going, okay, well, there's that box because there's this guy, I think the Christians call him Jesus, and they're celebrating that this is that guy's day's birth, they think. But they're celebrating this guy. So, and that's an important spiritual person in their religion. So they're probably, there's probably that similarities that are able to see right off the bat, right? So celebrating a spiritual element. And then they're kind of going on and going, okay, but once they do that, then things become really fun, right? There's joy, it's full of joy. They're happy. They're walking around. They're saying nice things to each other. They're trying to be nice to each other, and we do that during festivals. They like to dress up in their finest clothes. We like to dress up in our finest clothes. And they do fun things. We do fun things too. We have this big festivals usually with our events, and we do the things. We eat good food. We eat sweets that we normally don't get to have during the course of the year. Maybe we have a special meal, and it looks like the Americans are doing that too. Look at that thing. Look at that bird. Look at that ham. I mean, they're living it up. There's so many similarities here that's going on. It's not that different. So I think somewhere along the line, that conversation happened. And I think that the Japanese people kind of said, there's a festival element to this. There's a spiritual element to this. There's a way to be nice to each other element to this. There's, gift giving. Yeah, every time I turn around and look at something in Japan or watch a video about Japan, there's something about gift giving. And so I'm sure this is an appeal to the Japanese, where it's a day where you give a gift to somebody that you enjoy their friendship, or they're your spouse or your family or whatever it is. And it's a nice thing to do. So I'm thinking that the Japanese were able to say, hey, these are kind of nice things. And they kind of looked at it and they probably just said, we're not going to worry about the Jesus part, but we're going to take all the rest of this, because this seems like fun. This seems like a good thing to do. And so I think in post-war Japan, and after we left, after the occupation ended, it's stuck there because it's something that is familiar to their culture. Obviously there's massively other things that are going to be different. The whole Christianity aspect of it, the fact that this is totally Western. But, even within some of the spiritual parts, you can still, again, find similarities, like the Yule log. I'm sure there was some conversations of like going, hey, did you know that some of them will find a pine branch, log, small log, and they'll put leaves and berries and things on it and make it look nice and put candles on it, and for a few days it just sits there, and people write wishes on a piece of paper and they put it in there, and then they burn the log, and the wishes are supposed to go up to their idea of heaven in the hopes that their deity will fulfill those wishes. That sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? I mean, lantern rites, things like that. I mean, that doesn't sound too off-brand for the Japanese, right? So I'm thinking, again, I'm kind of thinking that once it was presented, Christmas was presented to them, they kind of said, that looks familiar, that looks familiar, that looks familiar, that looks familiar. It's different, but there's enough here that we can go, yes, we would like to partake of that. And I think that's what happened. So I again, I'm being speculative here. It's just following my own logic path. So I could be totally wrong. Who knows? Anyway, but what do you think? How do you think Christmas got to be such a thing in Japan? Because it is a thing in Japan. It's, we see it in anime, we see it in their movies and things like that. So it's not like it's just some arbitrary thing that they do. Obviously, there's interest in that. There's desire to do that, and it's not just a desire to sell stuff to the American servicemen. It's actually a thing now. So, what do you guys think? What are your thoughts about it? Do you live in Japan? Are you a Westerner that lives in Japan and you've seen some things maybe? Put those things down below. Let us know. That would be really, really awesome to see. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Kentucky Fried Chicken. So I'm not going to lie. I love the idea of having the Christmas feast be totally Kentucky Fried Chicken. I love the mashed potatoes with gravy. Love their biscuits. Original recipe, that's my thing. The big tubs of chicken. The whole 9 yards, right? Who doesn't like KFC? KFC for Christmas sounds like an amazing idea, and I kind of want to do it. I wish it, so maybe someday, some Christmas I'll do that. But anyway, so why is that a tradition in Japan that on Christmas you actually pre-order a KFC dinner for your family or for yourself or for you and your friends on Christmas Eve? Why is that? Where did that come from? And the story is kind of fun. We're going to oversimplify it and tell it quickly because it can be a little bit long. So basically, again, it has to do with American servicemen, for the most part, being stationed in Japan, and also, as corporate America is gaining more interest in the markets in Japan, businessmen who can't go back home regularly, and so they're kind of there, and and they want to have something familiar, right? So in Japan, a company got reached out and said, "Hey, let's open up some test KFC restaurants here in Japan." A mere handful, I think, like 6 or 7 of them, and said, let's give it a go, and we'll have something for the Americans to spend money on, and that seems familiar to them. And Kentucky Fried Chicken in general is definitely an American thing. It's definitely an American food item that practically everyone enjoys in America. So, they said, why don't we test this theory out? And it failed. So they had their pilot stores. They expanded it a little bit to a couple dozen, I think, and then the stores just started closing down because there was just, for whatever reason, while the servicemen were fine with it, nobody else was coming in through the door, right? So there was this one dude in the last KFC, practically, in Japan, and he actually slept in his own restaurant, and he's trying to figure out, how am I going to make this work? And it was getting close to Christmas, and he's just like, Christmas deals. We're KFC Americans. Americans love Christmas. They love Kentucky Fried Chicken, and this is a thing. People are starting to, here in Japan, Japanese are starting to put up Christmas trees and stuff. What if I attach KFC to the Christmas idea and see if that might just generate sales and maybe keep the store going, right? So he did it, and it was like a home run. It just knocked it out of the park. And so then, as KFC allowed more franchises and things to open in Japan, this became a thing, just based on this one ad idea. And so, there you are. That's how KFC got there. And this one guy made the brilliant idea of attaching one American idea to another American vision of Christmas that people enjoy, Japanese people enjoy, and people just made the connection and made it stick. And there you go, KFC in Japan for Christmas. And again, I just think it's a brilliant idea. I love the concept. Now, I know everybody likes their big Christmas feast and, Norman Rockwell paintings, that kind of thing. But honest to God, wouldn't you like to just not have that stress and just be able to pre-order a huge KFC dinner for Christmas and go, here you go, let's go to town, because it's good food, right? So anyway, so there is KFC in Christmas. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up here for this Christmas episode. First, I'm going to give you a gentle reminder that after the Christmas, I think after New Year's, then I'm going to be on hiatus. There will still be videos that I will be posting, AMVs, some silly stuff, some things you might find interesting, little things. So keep checking back for those little things. But in terms of Christmas, I'm going to have a link, as always, down to my SideTube channel down below. And I'm going to try and put some Christmassy anime things up on the SideTube channel, so please check those things out. That would be awesome. Also, the Spotify link is going to have some Christmas tunes there. For the more adult crowd, they're going to be more punkish and things like that. So if you like that, please, by all means, check my UnagiSteve Spotify account. And what else? Yeah, I think that's it. So you guys have a great Christmas holiday, whatever it is that you celebrate. Please enjoy it. Have a good time. Enjoy your gifts. Oh, speaking of gifts, I got a gift early, and it's from Manga Spice. I didn't realize I was going to get this. I was in a restaurant with a significant other, and they said, "Oh, look at these things." I'm like, "Oh yeah, look, that Manga Spice thing looks pretty cool. Get some snacks and free manga for 3 months." Boop! Merry Christmas. So, that's what I'll be getting for my Christmas gift. So isn't that cool? Anyway, so enjoy your holidays. Enjoy your time together. Know that I love you guys. And I can't wait to see you next time, and maybe in person in the future. Who knows? Anything can happen. It's Christmas, right? Enjoy your KFC.